You know, for a lot of us, science class felt more like a memory test than anything else. But what if it was more like being a detective? Today, we're going to dig into a huge shift happening in education, moving away from just memorizing facts and into the art of reasoning. And it's all being powered by a really clever AI approach.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You spend hours cramming dozens of scientific terms for a huge test, and then, poof, they're gone a week later. It's this frustrating cycle that really makes you wonder, is that actually learning?
Well, it turns out there is a much better way. One that builds knowledge that actually sticks by teaching us not just what to think, but how to think.
See, the core of the problem isn't the facts themselves, it's how we're taught to handle them. The real key lies in moving beyond that simple, boring, rote memorization and unlocking a much deeper way of thinking. Think about it. Traditionally, learning has been a one-way street, right? Information comes at you, and you're just supposed to store it. But this new model, it turns learning into an interactive journey. It's all about actively reasoning, connecting the dots, and solving puzzles, which makes you way less of a spectator and way more of a detective.
And the person behind this particular shift is an educator who thinks less like a typical teacher and, well, a whole lot more like a scientist.
So, let's meet Giorgio Lagna. He's this Italian-born scientist who decided to bring a researcher's mind right into the classroom. While he was teaching some really complex subjects, we're talking genetics, human physiology, he noticed this huge disconnect. His students were great at memorizing facts, but they really struggled with the kind of critical thinking that actual scientists do every single day.
So, what did he do? He developed his own philosophy, something he calls the researcher's mindset. And what that really means is he treats his course design just like a scientific experiment. You know, it's super pragmatic, totally driven by data, and he's always tweaking it to find what actually helps students learn.
And really, his whole methodology boils down to this one simple, powerful idea. The goal isn't just to fill students' heads with a bunch of facts. It's to give them the tools to reason. It's about teaching them how to take all that information and actually do something meaningful with it.
Okay, so how does he pull this off? Well, the secret sauce here is technology. He's basically turned his classroom into an AI-powered learning lab.
Lagna's system is built on two key AI tools. First, you've got these AI-built branching cases, and second, something called Socratic GPT tutors. Let's break down what these actually are. Okay, so first up, these branching cases. Imagine a choose-your-own-adventure book, but for science. The AI cooks up a really complex problem. Let's say it's a medical mystery where a patient has all these weird symptoms. You, the student, are the detective. Every single choice you make, like should I order a blood test or an MRI, sends you down a totally different path. It forces you to think on your feet and make decisions based on evidence, exactly like a real doctor or scientist would have to. Now, the second tool, this Socratic GPT tutor, is a real game changer. You know, a traditional tutor might just give you the answer, right? The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. But a Socratic tutor, it's more like a guide. It won't hand you the solution. Instead, it'll ask you these smart, probing questions like, what have you noticed about this cell's energy levels? Or, which part of the cell is usually linked to energy? It nudges you along so you can discover the answer for yourself. So when you put these two things together, the interactive practice scenarios and the guided questioning, you end up with a completely new kind of curriculum. It's not about listening to lectures anymore. It's about actively solving problems, with AI creating this super supportive interactive world to do it in.
Now, this all sounds amazing in theory, but the researcher in Giorgio Lagna needed proof. He had to know, does this thing actually work? So let's get to the results.
And the results? They were pretty incredible. Lagna saw clear, measurable jumps in learning outcomes. His students just plain understood the material better. But it was more than just grades. Engagement went through the roof. Students were more active, more curious. And, maybe most importantly, he figured out a process to scale this, which means this isn't just some one-off experiment. It's a model that could be used to build better science classes everywhere. So, let's zoom out for a second. What does all this tell us about the future of learning? It really all comes back to this one fundamental shift. For centuries, education has basically been about one thing: knowledge acquisition, just getting information into your head. This new model is all about application and complex reasoning, learning what to do with that information once you have it. It's a huge move from just knowing facts to actually possessing skills.
And honestly, that's the real takeaway here. Putting AI in the classroom isn't just about swapping a textbook for a tablet. It's about fundamentally changing the role of the teacher and the entire goal of education. It's a whole new philosophy, one that's only now possible because of this new technology.
So that leaves us with a pretty exciting question to chew on. In a world that is just overflowing with information, the most valuable skill isn't knowing facts, it's the ability to reason. And if AI can genuinely help us master that skill, what's the next great frontier we can learn to conquer?